The Junkyard discovery. The night was quiet in the junkyard. Cold wind moved slowly through the metal piles. It smelled like rust and oil. No one ever came there after dark. But Jace was different. He wasn't scared. He worked there alone. He searched for old parts to sell and fix. It was the only life he knew. Then something strange happened. A loud sound tore through the sky. It wasn't thunder. It was something falling fast like a fireball. Jace looked up. A red light flashed across the sky and crashed into the trash hills with a deep boom. The ground shook under his boots. Pieces of broken metal flew into the air. He ran toward the crash without thinking. When he reached the spot, he saw it a strange, egg-shaped capsule. It was small, glowing faintly, and cracked on one side. Steam hissed from it. The metal looked different from anything Jace had ever seen. It wasn't human-made. He stepped closer. His heart beat hard in his chest. The capsule had small lights blinking on its side. It was covered in scratches. There was no writing, only strange symbols he couldn't understand. Then he saw movement. Something inside was alive. His hand shook as he reached for the handle. The capsule clicked. A slow hiss came as the door opened slightly. Inside was a girl. No, not a human girl. Her skin was light blue and soft-looking. Her hair was white and glowing gently. She looked young, maybe a teenager. She was curled up tightly, her arms around her knees. Her body shook like she was freezing. Her eyes were shut and her lips were dry. Jay stared in shock. Who would throw someone like her into a junkyard? He bent down and touched her shoulder. She flinched but didn't open her eyes. Her body was warm but weak. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her. He didn't know what else to do. He whispered, "Hey, can you hear me?" Slowly, her eyes opened. They were large and bright. Silver. She blinked a few times, then stared at him. Fear filled her eyes. She tried to speak, but no words came. Only a soft, broken sound. Jace put a finger to his lips. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." She looked confused but stopped moving. He reached into his bag and took out a water bottle. He opened it and held it to her lips. She drank a little, then coughed. He could see she was starving and weak. Carefully, he lifted her out of the capsule. She was light, almost too light. As he carried her back to his workshop, he couldn't stop thinking. Who was she? Why was she in a capsule? Why would someone throw her away? At the edge of the junkyard, he looked back at the crash site. The red glow had faded, but the feeling of something strange still stayed in the air. He had a bad feeling like this wasn't just a crash. It felt like someone meant to hide her here. Back in the small room he used as a home, he placed her on a soft blanket. The heater hummed softly. She opened her eyes again and watched him. Jace tried to speak slowly. "Do you understand me?" She blinked. Then slowly she nodded. His eyes widened. "Can you speak?" She opened her mouth, but only soft sounds came out. It wasn't English. It wasn't any human language. But her eyes said everything. She was scared, lost, alone. He pointed to himself. "Jace." She watched. He pointed again. "My name is Jace." She touched her chest but didn't say anything. Instead, she drew a small shape in the air with her finger. It looked like a circle, with a line through it. Jace didn't know what it meant, but he smiled. "Okay. Circle line. I guess that's your name." She smiled a little. It was weak but real. That night, Jace couldn't sleep. He sat near her, thinking. His world had always been simple: find junk, fix parts, sell them. But now something big had landed in his life. She wasn't just some creature. She was someone. And someone had tried to erase her. He looked at her sleeping form. Her skin glowed softly in the dark like a star. He whispered to himself, "You were thrown away like trash. But you're not trash." He didn't know it yet, but this small act opening the capsule would change everything. Because somewhere, far away in space, something had noticed. A small red light blinked to life on a hidden screen. Words appeared in alien code. Capsule opened. Life form detected. Signal activated. And deep in the galaxy, someone whispered, "She's alive." The hunt had already begun. She woke up and spoke, not in words. The girl's eyes opened wide in the middle of the night. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. But her breath was fast, her hands shaking. Jace sat nearby, half asleep, and noticed her movement. He stood up slowly, not wanting to scare her. She backed away, pressing herself into the corner of the blanket. Her silver eyes watched him like a scared animal. Jace didn't move closer. He sat back down and slowly pushed a plate of food toward her. Warm soup, simple bread. He pointed to it. "You need to eat." She didn't understand the words, but she smelled the food. Her hands moved slowly. She grabbed the bread and took a small bite. Her body relaxed just a little. Jace didn't speak much after that. He just watched her. She was trying to understand everything, her surroundings, him, and maybe even herself. He noticed strange lines on her arms. Thin glowing marks, like they were burned into her skin. They weren't scars. They looked like symbols. The next morning, she walked to the window and stared outside at the trash mountains. Then she looked at Jace. Slowly, she bent down and started to draw something on the dusty floor. A symbol, a triangle with dots inside. Then a circle. Then a line that cut through them both. "What does that mean?" Jace asked. She pointed to the triangle. Then she pointed to herself. "You?" He guessed. She nodded. He pointed to the circle. She hesitated. Then she drew a small symbol next to it. It looked like fire. She pointed to the junk outside. Suddenly, it made sense. She had drawn a warning. "You were thrown here," Jace said. "Into fire, into garbage." She nodded slowly. Jace felt cold. Someone had sent her here on purpose. Not as a mistake. As a punishment. Or worse. That night, something even stranger happened. The girl reached for a broken metal panel near the heater. She pulled it apart and took out a tiny piece of tech like a chip. She held it in both hands, carefully pressing it. A small green light flickered to life. Jace stepped forward, confused. "What's that?" She touched the light, and suddenly it projected a small image. A floating shape hovered above her hand, a hologram. It showed a star system. Dots of planets. One was marked in red. She pointed at it, then at herself. Then she drew a red X across the planet's image. "They sent you away," Jace whispered. "You're home. It rejected you." Her eyes lowered. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to cry. But instead, she raised her hand and placed it on Jace's chest. Gently. She didn't need words. She was saying thank you. The next day, Jace tried teaching her simple English words. He pointed at himself again. "Jace," she nodded. Cess. Close enough," he smiled. He picked up a spoon. "Spoon," she tilted her head. "Spun." She was learning. Fast. But something felt off that night. While she slept, Jace walked out to check the crash site again. The capsule was still there, burned, broken. But something new had appeared, thin, round marks in the dirt. Not human footprints, more like wheels. Or claws. Someone had been here. Suddenly, his old radio sparked to life. Just static at first. Then a low clicking sound. It wasn't in any human language. Jace froze. He switched it off and ran back. Inside, the girl was still asleep, but she shivered. Like she could feel something was coming. He sat beside her and whispered, "I don't know what's going on. But I won't let them take you." The next morning she was different, more alert. Her body was healing fast. She pointed to his tools. Then to her broken capsule. Jace watched as she repaired a panel like she had done it all her life. He stared in shock. "You're a builder?" She paused, then pointed at her head. Memory. That's when he realized she wasn't just some random alien child. She had training, knowledge, maybe even secrets. Jace asked again, "Who are you?" She looked at him for a long time. Then she drew a new symbol, a small crown. Jace's eyes widened. "You're royalty?" She didn't nod or smile. She just sat quietly, as if the truth was heavy, and that's when they both heard it. A soft hum, far in the sky. Then a red dot moving slowly over the junkyard. A drone. JACE pulled her down and shut off the lights. They watched through the cracks of the window as the drone scanned the piles of garbage. It hovered for a moment, then flew off, but they both knew what it meant. Someone was searching. And now they were close. The girl whispered something for the first time. Jace didn't understand the word, but her voice was soft, afraid. Later she wrote that word in the dust. Hunt. Jace looked at her, then out at the sky. This wasn't just about saving her anymore. It was about staying alive. Asterisk. They want her back dead, not alive. The wind was strong that morning. Metal sheets clanged in the junkyard. Jace stood on top of a pile, watching the sky. His heart wasn't calm. The red dot from the night before haunted him. The drone didn't fire, didn't land, but it looked too long. Like it was checking something, confirming something. Inside the small shelter, the alien girl was awake. She sat near a pile of old wires and metal pieces, fixing things like she'd done it all her life. Her hands moved quickly, her eyes focused. Jace could tell she was smart. Not just smart, trained, maybe even built for something more. He brought her food and sat down. "Someone saw us," he said. "They might be coming." She didn't answer with words, but she drew a picture again. A circle with arrows pointing at it. She tapped the arrows hard. "They're surrounding us?" She nodded. He sighed. "Then we better be ready." Later that day, something strange happened. Jace found a metal collar deep in her capsule wreckage. It was broken and burned, but a small piece still blinked red. He brought it to her. She froze when she saw it. Her hand shook. "What is this?" He asked. She pointed at the collar, then made a slashing motion across her neck. Jace understood. "It was a tracker," he said. "A leash," she nodded. Then she drew another symbol, this time fire, around the collar. She crossed it out. "They didn't just track you. They wanted you gone." The fear in her eyes returned. That night, Jace stayed awake. He placed traps around the shelter. Simple things. Wires, alarms, makeshift weapons. He wasn't a soldier, but he had learned how to survive. He looked at the girl. She was sleeping, curled in his old blanket. She looked peaceful, but he knew it wouldn't last. Then the silence broke. A sharp sound like metal ripping. He jumped to his feet and grabbed his tool weapon. A small flash outside. Something moved fast. Not human. The girl woke up, sat up straight, and whispered something in her language. It sounded like fear. Jace ran outside. At the edge of the junk pile, he saw it. A tall, spider-like drone. Shiny black. It had sharp legs and glowing eyes. It wasn't scanning this time. It was hunting. Jace shouted. It turned to him. A thin red beam shot from its eye but missed. Jace ducked and threw a heavy wrench at it. It hit the side and sparked. Drone hissed. It charged forward. From behind, the girl stepped out. She held a small tool she had fixed earlier. It looked like a weapon now. She aimed it at the drone and pressed. A pulse of light shot out. The drone shook, staggered, and collapsed into the dirt. Its lights went out. Jace ran to her. "Are you okay?" She nodded, breathing fast. Then she looked down at the dead drone, But Jace wasn't looking at the drone. He was staring at the small device in her hand. You built that from junk? She looked up. I remember. Weapons. His mind raced. If you remember weapons, that means you were trained for war. She lowered her eyes. Then, slowly, she spoke in a shaky voice. I was not wanted. Jace stared at her. Why? She looked back into the shelter and pointed at the drawing she made. The triangle. The crown. The fire dot. Then she whispered one English word. Clear. Strong. Different. Jace's breath caught. She wasn't just thrown away because she was dangerous. She was thrown away because she was different, unique, maybe even more powerful than they could control. And now they wanted her dead. Suddenly, the drone's body sparked. A small blinking light started flashing on its chest. Jace stepped back. What's that? The girl's face turned pale. She ran and picked up a rock. She smashed the light hard. Again. Jace watched. What was it? She whispered. Beacon. He realized what that meant. That thing sent a signal. She nodded slowly. Jace looked at the stars above. Then they're coming. That night, as the junkyard lay quiet again, Jace sat near the girl. His hands were dirty. His heart was full of fear. But deep inside, something stronger was growing. He had a choice. Leave her and run. Save himself, or stay and fight. She looked at him, eyes full of tired hope. He spoke softly. You're not trash. I don't care what they think. She reached out, her hand touching his. For the first time, she smiled. But far away in space, a command had been given. Recover the capsule. Eliminate the subject. Use force. They didn't want her back alive, and they didn't know this time. She wasn't alone. Asterisk the truth about her kind. The junkyard was silent again, but the silence was heavy. Jace didn't sleep that night. He sat near the alien girl, tools scattered around him, thinking hard. The broken drone, the beacon, the fear in her eyes, it all pointed to something bigger, something hidden. She wasn't just a random alien child. She was something more. The girl, now awake and stronger, stared at a small circuit piece in her hand. She wasn't afraid anymore. Her hands moved fast, building something out of scrap. Jace watched, impressed. You remember everything, don't you? He asked. She looked up and nodded slowly. Then she picked up a metal plate and started drawing on it with a sharp tool. Line after line. A story written without words. At first, Jace didn't understand. But then the pieces started to fit. She drew a tower. Then many small figures kneeling under it. Above the tower was a symbol he had seen before, a triangle with 3 dots. A royal symbol. She pointed to it, then pointed to herself. You're from the royal family, Jace guessed. She nodded. But her eyes didn't shine with pride. They were full of sadness. She drew more lines. A group of tall alien figures wearing cloaks. One of them held a glowing stick. The other stood behind him. Then she drew herself smaller, standing alone. Then a circle with a line through it, a seal, a mark, a punishment. Jace leaned closer. They exiled you? The girl nodded again. Then, using her finger, she drew one last image on the metal plate. It showed her glowing, transforming, rising. The others watched her with fear in their eyes. Jace felt a chill. You were changing, becoming something they didn't understand. She didn't speak. She just looked down as if ashamed. But Jace shook his head. They feared you because you were better. He looked at her closely. Your body heals fast. You build weapons from garbage. You remember everything from your past. That's not a mistake. That's power. She blinked slowly and finally whispered a word. Evolved. Jace sat back, stunned. That was the truth. She was from a powerful bloodline. But her DNA was different, maybe stronger, maybe too advanced. She wasn't like the others. Her kind feared her, not because she was dangerous to them, but because she could surpass them. They called her a threat and threw her away. Monsters fear what they can't control, Jace said quietly. They didn't just try to kill you, they tried to erase you. The girl pointed to her chest again. Her voice was soft. I survive, he nodded. Yes, you did. And now they're afraid you'll rise again. Later that day, she stood beside him as they looked out over the junkyard. Together, they began rebuilding the broken capsule. But not to leave, to hide it. To protect themselves. As they worked, Jace asked, what would they do if they caught you? She paused, then drew one word in the dust. Erase. Jace clenched his fist. Not while I'm breathing. That night, while the stars blinked above, the girl used a new word. She pointed at Jace and said, protector. He smiled. I like that. Then she surprised him. She reached out and touched his heart with her finger. Family. Jace didn't speak. He couldn't. She had been thrown out by her own people. Not for a crime, not for weakness, but for being more than them. Now she had no crown, no soldiers, no empire, but she had Jace. And that, for the first time, was enough. But far above Earth, deep in black space, something stirred. A massive alien ship received the signal from the drone. A large alien commander stepped forward and stared at the screen. It showed a blurred image of the girl standing beside a human. The commander's eyes narrowed. He spoke coldly. The anomaly has made contact with a native. Prepare a strike unit. She cannot be allowed to awaken fully. The hunt wasn't just about recovery anymore. Now it was about elimination. And Earth was in the way. The human makes a choice. Jace had lived his whole life among broken things, rusted engines, forgotten machines, dead satellites. But now he stood beside something more valuable than all the junk in the world. An alien girl that everyone else had thrown away. She had no name, no home, and no one to protect her. Except him. The morning was quiet, but Jace couldn't stop thinking. His hands moved while his mind raced. He was helping her rebuild a small power core from scraps, but inside, a storm was growing. She was getting stronger every day. She spoke more clearly now, still in short words, but full of meaning. Danger, closer, she told him, holding up a blinking red sensor she had built from drone parts. Jace nodded. I know. The sensor glowed brighter each hour. That meant only one thing: they were coming. He looked at her carefully. They won't stop, will they? She shook her head. Never. He leaned back and stared at the sky. Then you have to leave. The girl froze. Her eyes widened. Leave? He nodded. I'll help fix your capsule. I'll give you what you need. But you can't stay here. They'll kill you, and maybe kill me too. She looked at him with sadness, but not surprise. You? Scared? Jace didn't answer at first. He picked up a broken metal plate and started working again. Then, slowly, he spoke. Yes. I'm scared, but not of them. I'm scared of losing you. She looked down at the ground. I go, she whispered. You live. But Jace stood up suddenly. No, that's not living. That's hiding. The girl didn't understand. She tilted her head. Jace took a breath. I've spent my life in trash. People pass me every day and don't even see me, just like they threw you away. But when I found you, I finally felt alive. You gave me purpose. He picked up a large solar cell and slammed it onto the capsule. I won't run. If they want to fight, they'll get one. She slowly stepped toward him. Her hands touched his arm gently. Stay, she said. Together. They stood like that for a moment, human and alien, both unwanted by their worlds, both choosing to fight for something new. Later that day, they finished fixing the capsule's power core. It was small but strong, enough to power defense systems or send a PA. Signal Jace didn't know which was safer, but as he attached the last piece, the core lit up with a bright flash. Too bright. The girl's face went pale. She stepped back and shouted, "No! Signal!" Jace's eyes widened. "You mean it just sent something?" She nodded fast. "Beacon." "They know now." Jace ran to smash the power switch, but it was too late. The signal had already gone. Far above Earth, deep in black space, the signal reached a warship. The alien commander looked at the new data. Location: Earth. Subject: alive. Human contact. Confirmed. Termination. Authorized. Back in the junkyard, the girl dropped to her knees. "My fault," she whispered. They come, but Jace knelt beside her. "No, we'll be ready." He opened a drawer and pulled out pieces she had never seen before: old weapons, hidden tech, old Earth defense systems. Junk to most, but Jace had fixed them in secret. "I've been alone a long time," he said. "I always thought no one would come for me. But now I know they're coming for you, and I'm not letting them take you." She looked at the tools in his hand. "You fight, I protect," Jace said firmly. For the first time, the girl smiled small and soft. Then she pointed at her wrist. "I help." They spent the rest of the day building not to run, but to stand, together. That night, the wind was cold. The sky above them was full of stars. But Jace didn't look up. He looked at her. "You could have left," he said. She shook her head. "You stayed." "So I stay," Jace grinned. "Then let's make them regret coming." They stood side by side, two broken souls rebuilt in a junkyard. One had been abandoned by an empire. The other had been forgotten by his own world. But now they were a team. And they had made a choice. They would not hide. They would not run. They would fight. They arrive and force the wind was wrong. It wasn't. Natural. It carried heat and sound. Deep, humming sound like engines hiding behind the clouds. Jace felt it before he saw anything. The ground vibrated. His tools rattled. Even the junk piles trembled, like they were afraid. The alien girl stood at the edge of the junkyard. Her silver eyes stared at the sky. She didn't speak. She didn't blink. But her body was tense. She knew what was coming. Jace stepped beside her. "Is it them?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Because in the next second, the clouds split open. A massive ship, dark, wide, and covered in symbols, descended over the junkyard. Smaller craft zipped down from it like angry bees. They weren't scanning this time. They were targeting. The girl whispered, "Too many." Jace tightened his grip on a makeshift blaster they had built from drone parts and old Earth tech. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "We only need to survive. Just long enough to show them they can't take you without a fight." Suddenly, a voice echoed from above. A deep, robotic voice in a strange language. But the girl understood. She translated quietly. "Return the anomaly, or be erased." Jace laughed bitterly. They really love using that word. The voice came again, louder. "1 minute, then we strike." Jace looked at her. "You ready?" The girl looked at him, fear and fire mixed in her eyes. Then she reached for her wrist, where she had placed a thin band of glowing energy. She pressed it. Her skin lit up faintly. The glow spread to her arms, her face, her chest. Jace gasped. "What's happening?" She looked at him, waking up. Jace stepped back. "You're activating something." She nodded. "My kind feared this." Before he could ask more, the first strike began. Explosions hit the far edge of the junkyard. Metal flew through the air. One pile collapsed like paper. Then came the first wave-tall armored figures with glowing weapons. They marched forward. Fast, silent, deadly. Jace fired first. His blaster hit one square in the chest. Sparks flew, and the soldier fell. But more came. The girl raised her hand and opened her fingers. From her palm, a pulse of energy burst out like a wave. It slammed into the ground troops, knocking 3 of them backward. One didn't get up. Jace looked at her in awe. That's what they were afraid of. She didn't speak. She just moved forward, step by step, like she had done this before. Like this was inside her all along. A drone swooped down from the sky. Jace jumped to shoot it, but the girl moved faster. She raised her arm, and a shield of light formed just in time to block the shot. The energy bent around them, saving Jace's life. He blinked. You're a weapon. She whispered, No, I'm a protector, like you. They fought back together. Jace used every trick he had: booby traps made from trash, explosives wired to hold batteries, even a hidden EMP device. The alien girl moved like lightning, striking with speed and precision. But it wasn't enough. More soldiers dropped from above. The sky was filled with dark ships. The ground was fire and smoke. Jace was hit. A blast caught his side. He fell to his knees, gasping. The girl screamed. Her body glowed brighter than ever before. A strange pattern lit up across her skin. She lifted both arms, and a shockwave blasted outward in all directions. The force was so strong the air seemed to bend. Every enemy within 30 feet was thrown backward. The remaining aliens paused. And for the first time, they hesitated. The commander aboard the ship watched from above. He narrowed his eyes. She has awakened. Another soldier spoke. Orders? The commander's face turned grim. Retreat for now. Prepare the suppressors. We underestimated her and the human. Back on the ground, the last ship pulled away, leaving smoke behind. The Junkyard was broken, burned in places, but still standing. Jace coughed and tried to sit up. The girl rushed to him, her hand shaking. You okay? She asked. Jace nodded slowly. You saved us. She touched his burned arm and whispered, We saved us. For the first time, they had won a battle. But Jace knew it wasn't the end. They'll be back, he said. The girl looked toward the sky. Yes, but next time. We fight bigger. She walked over to the broken remains of one of the alien weapons and picked it up. We build more. Jace smiled weakly. You sound like a human now, she smiled back. Then we fight like humans too. And above the stars, alien warships began to regroup. But this time, they didn't see the girl as trash. They saw her as a threat, and she was no longer alone. A new family, a new war. The Junkyard was no longer quiet. It was no longer forgotten. Smoke still rose from the burned piles of metal, but beneath the ash, something powerful had started. Not just survival. Not just escape. Something new. Jace sat on a broken engine, his side still hurting, but his heart full of fire. The alien girl stood beside him, holding one of the enemy weapons they had taken. Her silver eyes were calm, focused. She had changed, but not into a monster, into something more. They had won the first battle. Barely, but they both knew. The real war was coming. The girl looked up at the sky. More will come, she said. Jse nodded. Let them. They spent the next few days working. Not running. Not hiding. Building. She showed Jace how to repair alien weapons. How to power shields with earth junk. How to use the knowledge buried deep in her memory. She wasn't just remembering, she was evolving. Faster, sharper, stronger. And Jace? He was learning too. You're not the same anymore, she told him one evening. Jace smiled. Neither are you. They were no longer a scared girl and a lonely junk scavenger. They were a team. One day, while digging through a destroyed drone, the girl found something strange. A small chip with hidden data. She touched it, and a projection lit up between them. A message in her language. The girl stared. Her face turned cold. "What does it say?" Jace asked. She answered in a quiet voice. "They declared me extinct." Jace stood still. "They erased you from history?" She nodded. "My name, my records, all gone, like I never lived." He clenched his fists. "Then we'll write your name again with fire if we have to." She looked at him, a strange emotion in her eyes. Then she did something unexpected. She placed her palm on his chest. "My name is Vera." Jace blinked. "Vera." She smiled. "And you are not just protector now." He raised an eyebrow. "What am I then?" She stepped closer. "Family." Jace didn't speak for a moment. His voice cracked slightly. "Then you're mine too." In that ruined junkyard, two forgotten souls found something stronger than blood choice. They chose each other, not because they had to, but because they believed in one another. Soon, they completed the ship, no longer a capsule, no longer a coffin. Now it was a warbird made of alien tech and human will. It couldn't fly far, but it could fly high enough to reach orbit, high enough to send a message. And that's exactly what they did. From Earth, they sent a signal across the stars. Not a cry for help, a warning. We are alive. We remember. We are not afraid. Far away, on a cold alien world, the signal reached a great hall. Leaders of her species, those who once ruled without question, stood still as the message played. There she was, Vera, alive. Beside her, a human, proud, fearless. The leaders fell silent. She survived. And worse, she has chosen a human. Back on Earth, Jace asked her, "What now?" Vera looked up, her expression sharp and calm. "Now we find the others," Jace frowned. "Others?" She nodded. "There were more like me, different, hidden, exiled." Jace stood up. "You want to find them?" Vera smiled. "No, we will." And just like that, a new journey began, not to escape, not to hide, but to find others who were lost, thrown away, forgotten. To gather them. To fight back. To show the stars that even if you throw something into the trash, it can rise up and burn. Kingdoms down, they climbed into the rebuilt ship together. The engines rumbled. The junkyard shook. Metal lifted into the air. Scrap wings spread like armor. The stars waited. Vera looked at Jace one last time before liftoff. "They threw me away because I was different," she said. "But you made me believe again." Jace grinned. "Then let's go remind them who you are."